Paddington 2, Chapter 12. Aunt Lucy's recipe saves the day. The next morning the prison warden dragged a very sleepy Paddington out of bed and down the corridors to the canteen, where Knuckles was waiting for him to report for marmalade duty. "Mr. McGinty," Paddington said, once the warden had left. "What do you want?" Knuckles growled. "Well, the thing is," Paddington began, "I'm actually innocent, and I was wondering if you had any advice on how to clear my name. Now that we're friends." He tailed off as he looked at Knuckles' face. "Friends?" Knuckles said. "I'm your boss, not your buddy." "In that case, after you," said Paddington, holding the door open. "Why?" said Knuckles. "So you can stab me in the back?" "No," Paddington protested, "because it's polite. Aunt Lucy said if you're kind and polite, the world would be right." Knuckles snorted. "You were in front of me, and now you're behind. That makes you a sap." Paddington didn't know what to make of this, so he decided it was best not to comment. He followed Knuckles into the kitchen. "Where's everyone else?" he said, looking around the empty room. "I work alone," said Knuckles. "Trust no one and expect the worst. That's my philosophy." "Ingredients are over there," he went on, pointing to the cupboards. "Get on with it, then," he said to Paddington, who hesitated. "Are you going to help, Mr. Knuckles?" he asked. "No," Knuckles exclaimed, flopping into the chair. "But I can't do this on my own," Paddington protested. "There are 500 hungry prisoners waiting for breakfast. I'm going to need to squeeze 1,000 juicy oranges." Knuckles opened a copy of the Hard Times and said, "Rule number 1, no talking." Paddington nodded. He took an apron and began humming instead. "Rule number 2, no humming, no singing, and no expressions of bonhomie," growled Knuckles. Paddington stopped humming. He reached up to the top shelf and pulled a heavy sack of oranges. It didn't budge. He tried again, straining and heaving. Still it wouldn't move. He looked at Knuckles, who was still reading his paper. Paddington gave it one last tug of the sack. It moved a little way, but there was a worrying rumble sound as the other sacks shifted as well. Paddington gasped and moved back. He was not fast enough. Every single one of the sacks came crashing down, falling on top of Paddington and covering him up completely. "Ow!" said a muffled voice. Knuckles gave a heavy sigh, and then rising to his feet, he came and took the sacks off of Paddington. "I'm finding this working environment extremely stressful," said Paddington. "Aunt Lucy says that—" "Aunt Lucy!" Knuckles roared. "I've had it up to here with Aunt Lucy." He threw his enormous hands in the air. "She sounds like a proper old bag to me." Paddington looked up at Knuckles and said carefully, "I beg your pardon?" Knuckles took a deep breath and glared at Paddington. "Aunt Lucy sounds like the most naive, mushy-brained, gullible—" He paused. Paddington's face had taken on a rather strange expression. "What are you doing? What's going on?" said Knuckles with a puzzled frown. Paddington had locked eyes with the chef and was giving him a very firm look. Knuckles began to feel uncomfortable. He broke out in a cold sweat and pulled his collar awkwardly. "It suddenly got very hot in here. Did I leave the oven on?" "No," said Paddington. "I'm giving you a hard stare. Aunt Lucy taught me how to do them when people have forgotten their manners." "Phew! Pretty impressive for a bear, I'll give you that," said Knuckles, shifting uneasily under Paddington's gaze. "Now, Mr. McGinty, I may look like a hardened criminal to you," said Paddington, relaxing his stare a little, "but the fact is I'm innocent. My family are working hard to clear my name, so if you want me to make you some marmalade before I leave this place, you'd better give me a hand. I can't do it all on my own. Everything takes longer with paws," he added. "All right, I'll help," said Knuckles. The hard stare clearly worked. "I doubt I'll be much use to you, though." He held up his huge fists. "These aren't exactly made for cooking." "Oh, I don't know," said Paddington. "They look like a great pair of orange squeezers to me." "Orange squeezers?" said Knuckles. Paddington handed him an orange and a bowl. "Have a go," he said. The huge man took the orange and crushed it in one go. Juice poured into the bowl. Paddington beamed. "We'll soon have this lot done," he said. They got into a rhythm then, and Paddington was sniffing out the ripest oranges and Knuckles was squeezing them into the pan. You have to be careful with knives, Aunt Lucy says Paddington. Knuckles took a knife and chopped the rind into pieces with the speed of a machine gun fire. Where did you learn to do that? Paddington asked, with his eyes wide in wonder. Trust me, you don't want to know, said Knuckles with a little sly grin. Soon the oranges were ready. Paddington added spices and lemon and lots of sugar. Knuckles leaned in and sniffed. Well, he said. And he asked Paddington, is it any good? We'll only know when it's set, said Paddington, settling down to wait. He hoped it would be perfect. He didn't like to think what Knuckles might do and say to him otherwise.